Regina ma'am also. Regina Tobi David is a seasoned administrator and educator and at Convenient University, Ota, Nigeria. She is a member of International Administrative Professionals IAAP and a member of the National Academic Advising Association, the global community for academic advising. She worked in the oil and gas industry before moving into the higher education setting where she has been more than 18 years. Her research interests are career and academic advising, pedagogical innovative approaches to teaching and learning in higher education, and models of instruction, teacher-centered and student-based dynamics of students, academic performance, gender factor in learning, parental and home front motivation in student learning quality, and effective teaching methodology. She had attended local and international conferences where she presented papers focusing on education. She is also a critical team player in programs geared towards transforming the educational sphere of West Africa with indelible positive outcomes to show for them. She's passionate about student success and seeks for provision of equal opportunities for quality education. She works in the Vice Chancellor office in the position of an Assistant Registrar, where she oversees a wide range of educational administrative duties with external collaborators on a vast range of issues around student academic advising, curriculum development, paths to sustainable education, innovation, new technology in education, and on imaging the future of education. She holds a postgraduate diploma in education and a master degree in counseling psychology from Convenient University, Nigeria. Big round of applause for Regina ma'am. We welcome you, ma'am. I would like to invite you on the platform, virtual platform of this session. We welcome you, ma'am. Big round of applause for her. Mike, over to you, Rotima sir and Regina ma'am. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Megha.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you so much.
Welcome, ma'am. Regina, ma'am, welcome.
So, okay, am I taking the first presentation of Mr.
Tayo? Yeah, welcome to the session, ma'am. How are you doing today?
I'm fine, thank you.
And how are the situation there in Nigeria?
Oh, wonderful, great.
It's okay. Okay, ma'am, we have heard a lot about the administration in schools post-COVID, and we would like to hear from you how the learning would be post-COVID. Please share your thoughts on that.
Okay, thank you very much, Mena. I'm so glad to be at this conference.
And we're honored to have you here, ma'am.
And thanks to Mr. Jacqueline. I'm excited to be here. I'm going to share with us, and I've learned so much even from the previous speakers. I'm glad to be at this conference, and I believe I'll still learn a lot. So I'm going to share with us today on the future of education. Can I share my slide?
Sure, ma'am, you can proceed.
Okay. Okay, can you see my slide?
Yeah, it's visible.
Okay. So we're talking about our education. Globally, it's accepted that education is good. It's a means of equipping persons to contribute to the development of their countries. The more persons are able to educate, the more they're able to contribute to their countries economically, politically, and socially. And this is very important. Before I go on to talk about how we can empower students in a rapid changing world, I want to take a peek into education, how we came about the present education system today. Over the period of time, education model that has been existing were majorly determined by the challenges faced at such periods. For instance, early civilization was driven and powered by agriculture. It was the mainstay of the economy. And the focus was majorly on planting, rearing of animals to survive. But over time, we witnessed a change, and that change came in during the Industrial Revolution. In the era of Industrial Revolution, there were mass discoveries. The steam engine was discovered, the printer, even as well as transportation, things improved. And the type of training that was needed to sustain man was no longer relevant. With the advent of Industrial Revolution, this period witnessed a lot of mass production of goods and services. And because of the production of goods and services in such large quantities, specialization was required. Specialization in different fields in order to achieve efficiency. With specialization, the school system, we are now tailored in such a way that a student gets into school and gets specialized in a particular field, like being accountant, engineer, and economist. This resulted into the present type of education that is now existing, the monologue type of education. But we have discovered over time that this type of education is now outdated. We can no longer continue with this type of education. The education model is no longer sustainable because it was created for the Industrial Revolution. And now we have passed that era. We are into the digital age. One of the proof is the rising level of graduate unemployment across the globe. It has proven that the type of education we now have is no longer sufficient or is not sustainable. We need to move. So what is that future education that will equip students and persons to fit into this digital age, this age of technology? There is a need for a rethink on education, on reimaging. What is that future education we want? Millions of dollars and time is invested in education, in schooling. Persons spend so much time, so much money for a period of 4 to 5 years in acquiring certificates and degree. And it is clear that this much money being spent on education, we are not getting the expected results. It therefore means that there is a problem with this model of education that needs to be changed. The model has produced students, graduates that cannot fit into the world of work. Therefore, we need to rethink on the kind of education that will better equip students and persons to stand out in the place of work. Now with the future trend, we have some record. According to the Dell Technology Report, 85% of the jobs in 2030 that the Generation Z and Alpha will enter into have not been invented yet. According to the World Economic Forum report, 65% of primary school children today will be working in jobs that do not exist yet. Wow. So how do we create this job? How do we train them for this job that are not yet in place? We need to prepare them for the future education that will fit them. And that is what we're talking about. How to empower students in a rapid changing world. Inadvertently, the COVID-19 has amplified the need for a paradigm shift in education. It has taught us how education needs to change to be able to better prepare our young learners for what the future might hold for them. With this COVID-19, a lot of things have changed. We have learned a lot of things now that this is the way education should go. Education is no longer confined to the four walls of a university or of a particular college. You can access education, you can access knowledge through various means. The future education that we envisage is one that offers students real life hand-on experience in and out of classroom experience that will ensure that the students are building a lifelong love for learning that will not make the students to just stop because things keep changing over time. Things are not static. Therefore, the education sector should not be static. There must be a remodeling, a redefining of our approach to education. Now, one of the means of achieving this, of making our students future relevant, making young persons future relevant is the online learning, which is everywhere, so massive. There are a lot of free online courses that learner can access. With this online learning, a student is able to get the kind of education he or she wants. We have the likes of Khan Academy, Udacity, Coursera, Allison. All these have rich learning content that can equip students with the necessary knowledge and skill that they needed presently, and then what will be needed in the world of work. So it is possible for a student in India or Nigeria or any part of the world to be educated and have the rich learning experience that any student in Harvard, MIT, or Stanford can have just by taking any of these online courses. They are so rich. They all have, some of them have video, they have practicals. So it is so rich that any student can really learn. So this is one of the ways to go in the future so that these students can remain relevant. Then we have this other aspect that because of the extent of knowledge and access to the internet gives access to everyone to get and to have more information. You have access to information. The information that is you can use for any, you can use in any that could be utilized. So students don't really need the 4 to 5 years to spend in colleges or university in order to specialize in one discipline or to know one thing. In fact, the present school model is so slow for them. Within 2 years, you can actually study and educate yourself to the extent that you know what you want to achieve. You can have certification that can equip any student to work anywhere. So any student who wants to do it, my advocate now, I will advocate that if any student wants to study for the period of 1 year or 2 years, or even 6 months, you allow the student to do it because it's learning by doing. It is what you know. What do you know? What can you offer? It is not certification. It is not a degree. We don't need that degree again. The world is changing. We have to move along that line of the change. So, for instance, in YouTube has made learning so simple. We have so many videos on how to do a lot of things, and a lot of persons are taking certification. So that's the way to go. Recently, about a few months ago, we facilitated a program for some the young persons. It was a program sponsored by the African Development Bank. What we did there was just to facilitate and equip these young ones with the necessary skill they needed in Microsoft, Excel, and so many other packages. And at the end of the day, some of them got jobs. So that is the way to go. And they spent just only 2 months. So the present schooling model is so low, it's so slow that it's slowing down progress. But the world is moving at a very high speed. We should move along with them. So we're talking about lifelong learning. That is the way to go. Lifelong learning is the future. It is continuous learning. Learn, unlearn, and relearn. That is the way to go. Education, for instance, is not cheaper, but because of the mentality of the Industrial Revolution, it is still expensive in some countries. Some countries, the educational system is so expensive. So for persons in such countries, you could take any of this online program, you can have certification in it. And for instance, IBM, Google, they hire. They are not looking at your degree. Show us what you can do, and then they hire you. We have instances of a lot of persons getting employment through such means. So for instance, the education a person can get from university that is charging a fee of about $70,000, you can acquire such for less that amount and be better equipped than even those persons that went to school for that 4 years. Education is very good, but it should not be confined to a particular, and there should be no restriction to it. Continuous learning is the way to go. You keep on learning. Say if you stop learning, you stop creating history and become history. Continuous learning is the minimal requirement for success in any field. You have to learn, unlearn, and relearn. So for a student to be future relevant, there are certain skills that they need to acquire. The current realities of today have exposed the fact that the old model of education with certification acquisition is no longer sustainable. There is now the need for education to leverage on skills and knowledge acquisition to solve real life problems, because the purpose of education is actually to solve real life problems. What is the value of education if at the end of my education, I cannot solve any problem? It means I've wasted my time in just acquiring certificates and degree. But the future education we'll talk about is the education that enable the student or the person that have obtained that education to solve real life problem. And you will all agree with me that in our society, there are so many problems, myriads of problems, challenges that we could solve. Who is going to solve this problem? I pose that question to us. There are those persons who will be educated, who will have what we call future relevant skills. And this is the way to go. We need solution-driven education, education that provides solutions. That is the kind of education that we're talking about. Now, with this call for a redefining the role of the educator, the role of the educator needs to be redefined. Technology is now redefining the role of the teacher from that of instructing to that of facilitating. The notion that we have before that an educator is the sole knowledge holder who imparts wisdom to students is no longer justifiable because we have so much access to knowledge. The teacher and the student have access to the same source of information through the internet. That at times you'll be teaching in the class and they're just watching you because they have access to that information. Okay, I've gotten this, I've gotten this. So what will be the role of the educator in this time, in the future education that we talked about? Colleges and universities should assist to improve in their knowledge delivery. That's my advocate, that with this model, with the future education we experience with knowledge everywhere, with access to information, the educator that will be relevant, or the university or the college, they should assist the teachers and the lecturers to improve on their knowledge delivery skill. This is what will help. So we need to, as we are redefining the role of the students in the future education, we're also redefining the role of the educator to make them relevant and be able to impart the kind of skill that we need. With this kind of education now and the training of our educators, the emphasis will now be on the teaching of life skills, skills that are required. The new norms now require young persons to acquire soft skills that are essential to navigate effectively through schools in this crucial period, which will also make them relevant. We're talking about emotional intelligence, we're talking about flexibility and adaptability, continuous learning, entrepreneurial skill, creativity, and critical thinking. So the role of the educator now is moving from that of instructing, teaching, know this, to teaching the students how to learn. How do they learn? That they will get all the skill that is needed for them to be future relevant. So, and the world of work is also changing because the change is affecting every aspect of society. There are skills that are needed by employers. So some of the skills that employers look for are creativity, innovation, communication and collaboration, empathy, emotional intelligence. These are some of the skills that employers are looking for. So the education institutions will explore the options of integrating programs and courses that offer these skills. This is very essential and very important. We're talking about blended learning. Blended learning is one of the means of empowering our students in this technological age. Blended learning is new in the educational paradigm, but it goes beyond career or location, time or culture, and has created many enhanced opportunities for learners and teachers. In a research study that was carried out, it was discovered that blended learning has helped to improve students' performance. It endeavors to essentially and seamlessly integrate online and traditional learning on campus in order to create a distinct new approach with its own merits. Recently, Covenant University embraced this kind of learning during the lockdown. They were able to sign up all the students for Coursera, and also the faculty and staff also. They also took some courses in Coursera. And as a result of this, some of the students earned as much as 11 to 18 certificates, which added to their learning experience. I interviewed some of them when they came back to the campus, and their experience was wow. Some of them, they moved from junior level of programming to senior level. Some of them can do a lot of things now. So this is making them very future relevant. So I believe blended learning is one of the way to go. The unique experience of Covenant University students has made it such a way that Covenant was able to supplement on-campus courses with online learning modules. And this offered them new courses that they could take that will make them to be relevant. Industry these days, they are looking for skilled persons, and they cannot acquire these skills without this kind of blended learning. So the blended learning also provides an avenue to fill an important gap between town and GAN. Since Covenant University now have access to industry and job relevant online education. So online education has really helped these students, because it was made compulsory for them to take these courses. And these courses are courses that have matched with the normal on-campus courses that they are taking. With this, Covenant is the first institution in Nigeria and Africa to be recognized as using the blended learning through the Coursera platform. This is the future of education, blended learning. In conclusion, since everything is changing, the students have to keep on learning. Either they're learning and either they are the pioneer who is initiating the change, or they are catching up with the change. But one thing is sure, one thing that is sure is that they should make the change. If not, they will be left out. But make sure the change does not get you out. We have to keep on learning. We need to keep on relearning. And as we do this, I see a lot of changes happening in the educational sectors, in the education sector. Education is not all about going to school to get a degree or certificate. It is a lifelong learning process. It is continuous learning that will make the 21st century student fit into a rapid changing world of technology. Henry Ford once said, anyone who stops learning is old, whether at 20 or 80, anyone who keeps learning stays young. The greatest thing in life is to keep your mind young. So keep on learning, and exploring all the online learning platform. And as students keep doing this, I see them being future relevant, fitting into the world of work, or if they want to start their own, they can. I have some little recommendation here that I want a few, and that's the way for the education sector to go, to embrace online advising, because as it is now, we know face-to-face interaction is very good, but with the present situation, that cannot continue for long in some places. So I believe schools should be able to adopt online learning, online advising for the students. And then I see a lot of collaboration between the universities, the colleges, and the industry, because it's the industry that will employ these graduates at the end of the day. So there needs to be a form of collaboration so that we know what they want, what do the industry want, and how we can integrate this into the curriculum. There must be something like a curriculum redesigning, to redesign the curriculum to fit into the present reality. Thank you for listening. You have my contact here. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Regina, for the session. And you were thank you for the session. You were very right that the learning should continue. From in-camp, yeah, ma'am, you were very right. Earlier we had in-campus learning, then we moved to online learning during the COVID, and the future is surely the blended learning. So thanks for sharing such a wonderful thoughts with us. We're really grateful, and for the important advice that learning should always continue. Thank you very much.
Thank you.